My ex showed up to my wedding pregnant, claiming the baby was mine. First, a little context. My name is Benjamin, I'm 28 years old, and I work as a software engineer in Seattle. I just got married to Stephanie, a physical therapist and the most amazing woman I've ever met. We dated for 4 years before tying the knot, and I can honestly say she is literally the woman of my dreams. Our relationship has always been solid, built on trust and honesty. Now, about my ex, Victoria. We dated for 2 years when I was in college, and we broke up around 5 years ago. It was a toxic relationship that ended very badly. Victoria was always dramatic, manipulative, and had a tendency to create situations just to get attention. When we broke up, she went full meltdown mode, showed up at my house multiple times, called my parents spreading lies about me, and even tried to sabotage some of my friendships. Eventually, she moved to Portland, and I thought I'd never see her again. Over the last 5 years, I had almost zero contact with Victoria. She sent me a few random Facebook messages over the years, usually drunk or going through some personal drama. I always either ignored her or responded politely but distantly. Stephanie knew about Victoria and our past relationship, and it was never an issue between us. Now to the wedding day. It was the last Saturday in May at a beautiful venue in Woodinville, a vineyard with a view of the mountains. We had an outdoor ceremony followed by a reception for around 150 guests. Everything was perfect. The weather, Stephanie looked absolutely stunning in her dress, and all our friends and family were there. I was literally living the best day of my life. The ceremony had ended about an hour earlier. We were at the reception. I was chatting with my best man when my sister Amanda came running up to me with a look of pure panic. She pulled me aside and whispered, "Benjamin, you're not going to believe this. Victoria is here." At first, I thought she was joking. Victoria didn't even know where the wedding was. We had no contact, and she lived in Portland. But then Amanda pointed toward the venue entrance, and there she was. Victoria, in a flashy red dress, very visibly pregnant, like 7 or 8 months along. My heart started racing. Not because I thought the baby might be mine. I knew it wasn't. But because Victoria was clearly there to cause drama. She had that determined look I remembered all too well from our relationship. I tried to approach her quietly, hoping to get her out of there before anyone noticed. But she spotted me and immediately started walking toward the center of the reception, right where everyone was gathered. And then she did the unthinkable. Victoria stopped in the middle of the dance floor, put her hands on her belly and yelled, "Benjamin, I need to talk to you about our baby." The silence that followed was deafening. All 150 guests stopped and turned to look. My brand new wife, who had been talking to her bridesmaids, turned pale as a sheet. My parents looked like they'd seen a ghost. Stephanie's parents looked confused and horrified. I rushed over to Victoria and whispered, "Victoria, you need to leave. I don't know what game you're playing, but this isn't the time or place." But she wasn't interested in being discreet. She raised her voice even more. "You can't ignore me forever, Benjamin. This baby is yours, and you have responsibilities. I can't pretend you don't exist anymore." At this point, Stephanie had come over, and I could see the tears starting to form in her eyes. My heart broke seeing the confusion and pain on the face of the woman I had just married an hour ago. "Stephanie," I said, "I swear to you on everything I love, I have no idea what this is about. I haven't had contact with Victoria in years." Then Victoria turned directly to Stephanie and said, "Sorry to ruin your special day, sweetie, but Benjamin and I hooked up in January and now I'm 7 months pregnant. He knew about the baby and still chose to marry you." You can imagine the chaos that followed. Stephanie began crying. My mom was furious. Stephanie's dad looked like he wanted to punch me, and all the guests were whispering and pulling out their phones. It was an absolute nightmare. But here's the part that makes it even crazier. I had solid proof that Victoria was lying, not just intuition or memory. In January, the time Victoria claimed we hooked up, I was on a 2-week business trip in Germany. Not only that, Stephanie was with me on the trip. We extended it into a pre-honeymoon, staying for 3 weeks total. I had all the passport stamps, hotel confirmations, time-stamped photos, Instagram posts, and work emails sent from abroad. Literally hundreds of pieces of evidence that I was out of the country the entire month of January. And here's the truly insane part. Victoria had blocked my phone number years ago, and I had blocked hers. We had no way to contact each other. She had also removed me from all social media in 2020, and I had never tried to reconnect. So, in the middle of the reception chaos, with my wife crying and everyone watching, I pulled out my phone and started showing the evidence. I showed the Germany photos with timestamps, the passport stamps, the hotel confirmations. "Victoria," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "in January I was in Germany with Stephanie for 3 whole weeks. Here's the proof. You're lying." She looked at the evidence and for a moment seemed genuinely confused, like she had forgotten I wasn't even in the country. But then she doubled down. "You're lying. These photos are fake. You're trying to make me look crazy." At that point, my best friend Marcus, who's a lawyer, stepped in and said, "Victoria, you need to stop right now. Benjamin has documented proof he was abroad. If you keep making false accusations, this could become a legal issue." But Victoria wouldn't stop. She kept insisting the baby was mine, that I was lying about the trip, and that I was trying to escape my responsibilities. She even said she'd file for paternity. That's when something really strange happened. Stephanie's younger sister, she's 16 and kind of a true crime nerd, walked up to Victoria and said, "Can I ask something? If you're 7 months pregnant from something that happened in January, that means you got pregnant in late December or early January. But looking at you, you don't look more than 5 months along." Victoria turned red and said, "You don't know what you're talking about. I'm the one who's pregnant here." But Stephanie's sister pressed on. "Also, if you haven't been in contact for years, how did you know about the wedding? Or the venue? This is a private winery. It's not public knowledge." That's when Victoria started to unravel. She stammered and couldn't give clear answers. Finally, she admitted she had researched details about my wedding through mutual friends on social media. But the weirdest part was yet to come. My cousin, who's an OB nurse, came up and said based on Victoria's appearance, she was definitely not 7 months pregnant. She said Victoria looked at most 5 months along. So we did the math. If Victoria was actually 5 months pregnant, that meant she got pregnant in January, exactly when she claimed we met. But I had been in Germany the entire month. That only meant one thing. She lied about when she got pregnant to make it seem like I was the father. When we confronted her with the timeline, she finally broke down. Through tears, she admitted the baby wasn't mine. She said she got pregnant by a guy she met on Tinder who abandoned her when she told him. She was financially desperate and thought that if she claimed I was the father, I'd feel obligated to help. She said she had seen engagement posts from mutual friends, got jealous, and when she learned the date and location, through a distant cousin who was invited, she decided to crash the wedding and try to ruin my day to force me to take responsibility for a child that wasn't mine. You can imagine how I felt in that moment. Relief that Stephanie and everyone else finally understood the truth, but also pure rage that Victoria tried to destroy the most important day of my life with an elaborate lie. Stephanie, to her credit, was incredible through it all. After Victoria admitted the truth, Stephanie hugged me and said, "I knew you were telling the truth. You'd never lie to me about something like this." We called security to escort Victoria off the property. Before she left, she apologized through tears, saying she was desperate and didn't know what else to do. Part of me pitied her, but most of me was furious she nearly ruined our wedding. The rest of the reception was weird, honestly. Everyone was whispering. Some of the older guests looked like they were still processing. But our close friends and immediate family were amazing. doing everything they could to make the rest of the night special for Stephanie and me. Now, 3 weeks later, I'm still dealing with the fallout. Victoria has tried to contact me multiple times through different phone numbers and social media accounts I hadn't blocked. She switches between apologizing and trying to justify her actions. My lawyer advised me to document everything and consider a restraining order if she doesn't stop. The most frustrating part? Some people who were at the wedding still have doubts. I've heard from mutual friends that some guests are spreading gossip, wondering if maybe some of what Victoria said was true. That drives me insane, because I have documented proof I was in another country. Stephanie has been amazing through all of this. She never once doubted me and has supported me completely. But I can tell the whole thing affected her. She's mentioned how humiliating it was to have our wedding reception turn into a reality show episode. I also found out through mutual friends that Victoria is really struggling financially. She lost her job a few months ago and is living with her mom. The actual baby's father apparently vanished as soon as she told him about the pregnancy. So even though I'm still furious with her for almost ruining my wedding, I understand that she was desperate, but that doesn't excuse what she did. Crashing someone's wedding and making false public accusations is unacceptable, no matter how desperate you are. What bothers me most is that some people will probably always remember my wedding as that wedding where the ex showed up pregnant, instead of remembering it as the beautiful, special day it was for Stephanie and me. Marcus, my lawyer friend, said I could sue Victoria for defamation, especially since she made the false claims publicly in front of so many people. Part of me wants to, but another part just wants to move on and forget this ever happened. Stephanie and I are trying to focus on our honeymoon, which we finally took last week. We went to Costa Rica and it was amazing. But every time I post honeymoon photos, I wish I were just posting happy wedding memories, not dealing with drama from an ex. The whole situation made me realize how people from our past can crash into our present in completely unexpected ways. I truly thought Victoria was long gone from my life. Just goes to show, you never know what kind of chaos can come out of nowhere. Anyway, that's my crazy story. I'm still processing it all and trying to move forward. Stephanie and I are stronger than ever, but this was definitely a traumatic way to start a marriage. Comment. What would you do in this situation? If you liked this video, don't forget to like and share so we can bring you more stories like this. Keep an eye out for more stories. Hope you have a good day.